Hello snowboarders of the internet, I am your host TC, and today I will be reviewing the Rome 390 Boss binding. I rode these bindings at Copper Mountain where it started off as a warm sunny day with a slight breeze, and then probably about an hour or so into it, it just turned dark and got chilly and nasty out pretty much, where the snow didn't even soften up or anything. It still stayed firm pretty much the whole day, and you were lucky if at the bottom you found a soft spot, but for the most part it was pretty chunky out there, I would say. I used my Ride Fuse boots and Jones Aviator board. Binding adjustability. The 390 Boss isn't going to be the most adjustable binding in Rome's line, but it still has a lot of great features to it, where if we start from the top and work our way down, you're going to have just a standard forward lean, just nice and easy flip tab adjustment there, so nothing really too crazy to worry about. You can rotate this high back by just adjusting a screw on each side. You can barely see it because the strap's in the way, but just adjust that, get that parallel with the edge of your board if you're really into that sort of thing. And then pretty much moving down to the straps, you have a flip tab on both the ankle and the toe, so nice and easy to adjust and get that thing centered. And then when we work our way down to the toe here, it is on a push tab or a push pull system where you can just push down and just get that thing centered in 3 different spots there. And then to adjust it so you do have your boot centered in the binding and in the board, you do have 2 screws, one on each side, and then you have 2 screws down below. Now I would recommend adjusting this before you mount it, otherwise you're gonna mount it and then have to take it off and micro adjust it to get it perfect, so just make sure you're adjusting it before you actually mount this to the board. The 390 Boss is equipped with their Oxtec straps. Although that being said, the ankle strap isn't going to be the same one that's on, say, the Cleaver or the Katana. It's not going to have as thick of an exo frame on the outside here. It's actually going to be a little bit smaller, so it's not going to disperse that weight quite as well. And as you'll notice on this strap, it does want to kind of fold in towards the top and the bottom. So when you're flexing forward, you might feel that move just a little bit. When we work our way down to the toe, it's gonna fit over any toe box really well, square, round, triangular, whatever you want. It's gonna stretch really nice there for you. I honestly didn't even notice this toe strap on the boot when I was riding. I would have to look down and be like, oh, it's still there. It doesn't have any pressure points or anything like that on it, so super comfortable. They will allow some lateral play to them, but really not that much, I would say, especially when it's paired with this full wrap. It's gonna be more locked in than lateral play. As I've said in the past, and I'm sure you'll see in more videos that I have coming out, that I really like these ratchets. There's really no play in them whatsoever. They're easy to get on and off when you have a big puffy mitten on, and they just grip these ladders super well. If you do end up riding these things for hundreds of days and they start chewing up the teeth, they do have replacements there, but for the most part, they just feel super solid in your hand, and there's really nothing you have to worry about. It should be the standard for how ratchets are on bindings now. Since you're here, you might as well like, subscribe, click that bell, and turn on those notifications so you don't miss any of the videos we have coming out. The first thing I noticed about this high back is it actually comes slightly rotated out of the box. So I didn't touch that at all. If that's the way it's coming, that's the way I'm gonna ride it, because that's the way I see they want us to ride it. So that being said, it does allow some lateral play to it where it's not gonna be the stiffest thing out there. It will allow you though to go heel toe without wasting any energy or anything like that. And just like I said before, you do have a nice easy flip tab forward lean adjuster there if you're into that sort of thing. And it's really easy to use, so overall, solid high back, not gonna be the stiffest thing out there, but you're still gonna get that heel to toe response you're looking for. This binding does allow the board to flex freely, where you have 2 different foams. The black one and the orange foam are gonna have 2 different durometers there, so it does feel a little bit different, but it allows that board to flex, and that is gonna be coupled with a schmedium sized disc there. Yes, I said schmedium because it is not small, but it is not medium. But what that's gonna do is that's gonna make a smaller footprint, but it's gonna allow you to not get little disc wiggle or anything like that. And pretty much the straps and the high back are gonna allow this binding to flex pretty nicely laterally, but that chassis is gonna keep your foot locked in where you have upper movement, but you're still gonna feel nice and stable and connected to that board. This binding is pretty damp, I would say. It's gonna cut down on all those micro vibrations and all those little chunky icy spots, but you're gonna feel all of those conditions when they do get a little bit more spicy out there. So you're not gonna totally feel out of control or anything like that, or realize a little too late that you're going too fast for what this thing has to offer. It is nice and smooth, very comfortable, where my boot fit in this really well, so I didn't have to worry about having too much room on the sides or it even being too narrow where I'm getting points or anything like that. Especially I was concerned about that with this full wrap chassis, but it honestly just cups my boot really nicely and I felt like I was one with it on there. Rider in mind. This binding could fit pretty much almost any rider out there, I would say, where it is like the Goldilocks. It's not gonna be too stiff or too soft of a binding. It's gonna be right in the middle there, and it's gonna work for a lot of people, I would say. Whether you wanna go charge or you want something that you can still take to the park, it will do everything. It's not gonna do everything amazing, but it does everything pretty well. Do you wanna support us further? If so, head on over to Angry Snowboarder VIP. Sure, I could explain it here, but we have a great video over there explaining everything in depth. This is actually the first Roam binding that I've ever ridden, and I really liked it. There are quite a few moving parts on it, but not as many as those higher end models, so I'm gonna cut them a break on that one just because, I mean, Ride and Union have the same amount of moving parts as this binding do. So it's really not that big of a deal on here. It is damp though, and it really does do the job well for most things, I would say, where there wasn't anything I put in front of it that I was like, oh, this thing sucks at it. It does everything pretty well. So overall, solid binding. Anyone can ride it, I think. And honestly, if you're like, I don't know what to get, just get one of these because it's a super solid option that'll last you. Comparable bindings: the Bataleon Blaster Full Wrap, the Ride A6, and the Union Force. This has been my review for the Roam 390 Boss. If you're gonna pick up a pair of these bindings for yourself, I would recommend checking out Avran's video on how to set them up, just so you're not lost.